How we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here, welcome back to another video. So, unless you've been living under a rock for the last 24-48 hours, you'll probably be aware that we're starting to see some information come out about the War Within Alpha. Now, at time of recording this video, the first wave of alpha invites haven't officially gone out yet, so there's probably nobody actually playing it, but there are some content creators, some press events, stuff that has happened, and we are starting to see the first signs of stuff. So I'm going to start off this first video in probably an ongoing series, looking at some of the features and functionalities coming up in the War Within. Blizzard gave a really big long blog post yesterday talking about the Warbands, which I want to cover in a little bit of detail today. We spent almost 2 hours going through this on stream today, twitch.tv/Manthieus, by the way, a little shameless promo. We spent ages going through this, and I want to give you sort of like the overview, the quick summarized version of it. I will, of course, leave a link to the full article down below if you want to have a long read yourself. It's probably a 20-25 minute read going through it by yourself. I want to share my perspective as a bit of a goblin, a bit of a collector on some of these changes, as I know my play style tends to be a little different from a lot of other prominent content creators. I'm not so focused on the Mythic Plus, I'm not so focused on the high-end raiding, but I like my alts, I like my collecting, I like playing with professions, and certainly some more account-wide flexibility would be more than welcome. So let's take a little bit of a look into it then. Firstly, I guess we should probably start off with what the hell is a warband. Warband can mostly be interchanged with the word account nowadays by the looks of things. Your single account is going to be a warband. A warband is not like a guild. You can't invite people into your warband. It's just the collective term for all of your characters on your accounts. And I use the word accounts, plural there, very deliberately. You're able to have up to 8 accounts on one single Battle.net account. Now, all of those characters on all of those accounts will be part of this one unified warband. You can see from the little splash screen here that the character select screen is going to change pretty dramatically. You're going to have some cool stuff like being able to favorite your 4 characters. These 4 characters don't necessarily need to be the same faction, nor do they even need to be on the same server. You could pick just your 4 characters that you play the most, or heck, maybe even just the 4 characters that you've got the best transmog on. You can select these 4, they will show on your splash screen, but then all of your other characters will show in a big long list. Technically, you can have up to 60 characters per single account nowadays, so you'll have a list of up to 60 characters here. You can use some filtering systems as well if you want to just go, show just the ones on certain realms. I know I have sort of like 5 to 10 characters on a couple of different realms, so I don't want a huge, great big list of 60 all the time. You might want to filter it down a little bit, but you can do that, which is quite cool. What are some of the other features that are going to come with Warbands, though, that are sort of the big ticket stuff that we should be aware of? I will go through all of these in more detail throughout the video, but sort of the headline features of Warbands is going to be things like reputations are going to be made way more account-wide. Not all of them to begin with, but I'm sure they'll get there eventually. We're going to get a shared bank space called the Warband Bank, which is going to be very, very convenient. We'll talk about that in a lot more detail as well. This is also going to heavily impact Transmog. Now, this is where the Goblin brain in me and the collector brain starts ticking, as being able to collect more Transmog in a more flexible way. Always good, right? Always good. So let's maybe take it one step at a time. Let's work through this in a little bit of logical order. Let's talk about the changes to reputations then. Reputations is going to be quite simple. You are going to have predominantly fully account-wide reputation, which is really nice. This is going to apply straight away to both the War Within and the new reputations that comes with it, and for the most part, the vast majority of the Dragonflight reputations as well. They've already quoted that they would like to go back and do it for all of the reputations eventually, but not straight away. So how is this going to work then? Well, the highest reputation you have on any one single character will become what your account reputation is. And then through your play, regardless of which character that you're playing, when you gain reputation, it will just add on, and all of your characters on your entire account or within your war band will have the luxury of being able to utilize that level of reputation. So no more are we ever going to be grinding reputation multiple times on multiple characters. Cool. like this a lot. Goblin perspective here a little bit. I am going to be quite intrigued to see just how this plays out for things like the patterns, the recipes. One of the big reasons why I tend to focus on leveling the reputations as high as I do, and have had the reason to do it on multiple characters in the past, is because, well, my alchemist might need to level it up to get one pattern, my blacksmith might need to level it up to a different point to get a different pattern. Previously, I've had to, level these reputations multiple times to different degrees. Here's to hoping that maybe once you've leveled your reputation once, then you can log on to any of your alts that might have other professions and be readily able to go and pick up those recipes. This might mean, from a Goblin perspective, you can sort of level up your professions and get your hands on a lot of patterns very quickly. This is assuming that patterns are rewarded through the reputation trees or the renown paths in the new expansion. Time will tell, but this is cool all the same. To add to this, there is probably one thing that should be noted, is that I'm sure goblins out there are already thinking about the human rep bonus, the racial diplomacy. Diplomacy is going away. Diplomacy is being removed. They are taking diplomacy away. They're going to change it to something else. So the human racial that gives you that 10% rep increase will be no more. If you still have some, side hustles, side missions on the go using human characters for their rep gain, maybe try and get them finished before the War Within launches, probably before the pre-patch launches, as this racial is going to change to something else. We don't know what that something else is at this point, though. Some of the shenanigans that has happened in Dragonflight specifically is we've had to do weird and wacky things and some clever use of game mechanics to optimize reputation gains. Some of you may remember from both 10.1 and 10.2, it was quickly figured out that the optimal way to level your renown paths was to do it to level 10 on an alt to get the bonus to then go back and do everything all over again on your main to kind of slingshot your progress, which was weird. I didn't particularly enjoy that, and so the people who did it got slungshot way further in the renown path than people that would just play one character. It was a bit weird, a bit wacky. It probably shouldn't have worked that way, and so they're changing it. Reputation is going to be rewarded by first time completion of a quest. Doesn't matter what character you complete that quest on, but the first time you complete that quest, you'll get the reputation reward from it, and you'll see from this little screen grab here that the reputation will be considered Warband. Grants reputation with the Council of Dornogal. This is a one-time Warband bonus. They've stated that if you go and do that quest again on another character, instead of getting reputation, it'll be switched out for something equivalent of what we have as like Dragon Isle supplies. The expansion currency that is often used for your collectibles, your Mog, your pets, your mounts, that sort of stuff. The rep will be switched out to something else. So there will probably be a list of things that you need to do to get the rep, and everybody will be able to do it on whichever characters they so choose. I think it's a much better system, and I look forward to it for sure. Next we have achievements. Achievements are practically staying almost the same. There's only some subtle changes with achievements really, other than you'll be able to make progress on the achievements from, once again, any of your characters in the Warband, which is quite cool. The one that instantly sprung to mind to me when I saw this, and equally they did highlight in this little article, is things like the personal crafter achievements. Some of you might have seen the achievements for fulfilling like 500 orders. Trying to do that on one character with access to two professions is quite difficult, right? But they're going to make all of the achievements and even the progress towards the achievements account-wide, or their goal is to make sure that it's fully account-wide. There will be some exclusions to this, but it would mean, let's say you do 200 crafting orders on one character, 200 on another character, and 150 on a third character. They will add all together, and you would then tick the box and get the achievement for the 500 crafting orders, for example. This is good for the achievement hunters. This will mean that you can sort of work towards any achievement on any character without feeling as if you want to do everything on one character, because you need to do A, B, C, D, E, and F on the one character to actually get the achievement. You can share the load a little bit, which I think is quite cool. Quite cool indeed. Flight points is an odd thing to highlight here, but flight points, once you've unlocked a flight point once on one character, you'll have access to it on any other character. They deemed it a bit weird having to go around and pick up flight paths on every character all the time, and so it's just going to be account-wide. Great, nothing more to say about it. Similar with the map exploration. There's going to be two options here. They are going to give you choice. You can choose to just have your map exposed, the fog of war as it's often called, lifted once you've explored that area once. But there are some people that like to, use the fog of war, use exploration as a way to sort of deem, well, on that character I've gone and done this quest zone, I've gone and done this quest hub, I need to go over here next, sort of thing. There will still be the option for you to have to explore multiple times on your ults if you wish, or you just pop the toy and it will reveal all aspects of your map for you. A lot of us use add-ons to get rid of things like the Fog of War anyway nowadays, so I don't think this is going to apply to too many people, but it's something that's worth noting all the same. Currencies. Let's talk about currencies. Currencies aren't going account-wide. Even though Warbands is basically account-wide everything, currencies are not going account-wide, but they are somewhat smoothing over the process. Today, with currencies, it's weird that you have to often, if you want to trade some currency to another one of your characters on your account, you kind of have to often pester Blizzard to make it possible in the first place. Then they implement some sort of NPC or some sort of item that you collect that you can then mail off to your alt character. Often there's taxes on that currency. The whole process is just a bit messy and a bit confusing in current days. Going forward, not too much is changing with currencies. Your currencies are still going to be character. You're going to collect the currencies and they're going to stay on your individual characters. But there's going to be a new option for you to quickly and easily transfer characters to and from your different players. So it's a step in the right direction with currencies, but it's not a step far as I would have liked to have seen it. If I'm honest, if you actually take a little bit of a look from my notes, I stated that it feels awkward. This sort of system still feels a little bit awkward when they're pushing everything to be fully account-wide, warband-wide. It feels odd to me that currencies were the one that they sort of didn't really go the whole way with. It leads me to believe that there must be something pretty technical, pretty limiting behind the scenes with why they've only chosen to go sort of one step forward rather than the full distance with this, but it's a step in the right direction, I guess. A few things to note. Cosmetic currencies, this is things like your Dragon Isle supplies, currencies that allow you to buy cosmetics, pets, toys, that sort of stuff. They're going to allow you to transfer between your characters with no tax, no Blizzard, no fee. 500 from here will be 500 over there, no tax. Yeah, if it's some sort of more power-related currencies, there might still be a conversion tax, as they want to make it they still want to sell the advantage that if it's a power-gaining tax, you probably should be doing it on the character. There should be an advantage to doing it on that exact character still. And there are still going to be some currencies that are non-transferable at all. Crests, flight stones are two that they've mentioned, or whatever the equivalents might be once the War Within is in full swing. So yeah, my feedback on the currency side of things is I think it's a good step in the right direction, but it still feels like they could do a lot more. To throw a Goblin perspective in this as well, it's the same with gold. We'll talk about the transfer of gold between characters in a minute, because there is something else to talk about there. But we were kind of suspecting that gold might go account-wide as a currency, and it appears that it is not. Gold will still function exactly the same way as it does. It will be on your character, and you can transfer it to other characters through a few different methods, which we'll talk about in a minute. To talk about that exactly, we need to take a little bit of a look at the Warband Bank. Now, this is probably where a lot of Goblin ears will perk up. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, okay, what's this then?" This is going to be a Warband-wide shared space for storing stuff. Any single one of your characters on your accounts will have access to this same Warband Bank. You can see from the screenshot, it looks very similar to a guild bank. It's copying the sort of interface from a guild bank. There are 98 slots per tab. You can have up to 5 tabs. It's been confirmed we can purchase, yes, purchase with gold up to 5. We'll talk about the costs in a minute. Up to 5 tabs. We already were kind of thinking that if they go this route, it'd be nice to have 8. Guilds have 8. This Warband Bank is in theory meant to be for all of your characters across your account, so limiting it to 5 at face value. 500 sounds like a lot of slots. 98 times 5, roughly 500. It sounds like a lot, but let's say you have 20, 30, 40, the full account of 60 characters. And let's not forget, this one Warband Bank is for all of your accounts on one single Battle.net. So technically up to like 60 times 8, 480 characters or something. If you are a real altaholic, 500 bonus tabs is less than what you can get by getting yourself one personal guild fully maxed out. So my feedback to Blizzard would be, I hope they consider making this more. It's a good start for sure. Maybe there is some limitation by having it kept to 5 tabs so that they give themselves room to expand it in the future. But it's universal storage space. Let's talk about some of the restrictions or uses for this though. Any non-soulbound items or reagents can go in your Warband Bank. This is good news. This is really good news. This means that you can sort of throw in all of that catch-up gear stuff. You can throw in any of your crafting materials. If you're somebody like me that tends to buy most of your materials on one specific sort of bank toon, you can dump all of those materials straight in the Warband Bank. You don't have to worry about sending, 1,000 ore to that character, 1,000 ore to your blacksmith, 1,000 ore to your engineer, for example. You put it in your Warband Bank, and those characters you can log those characters on, and they can craft using those components just like as if they were in their own reagent or banks already, which is really cool. I like that. I like that a lot. That's going to make the crafting process on multiple different characters with multiple different professions much smoother of a process. Really like it. And you may have noticed from this little screen grab, this warband has got 17 million gold in it. It seems to be that they've increased the gold capacity of the Warband Bank, probably in due to the fact that it is designed for your whole account, right? We don't know what the upper limit is on this, but it's cool that it goes above the default 10 million gold. I'm sure there'll be some people that will try and push this to its limits and report back just how far you can go with this, as I know there are some uber goblins out there that have an awful lot of gold and can probably push the limits quite high. Another goblin note that has been noticed with this is that it works kind of like how your pet journal does. Anybody that's got more than one account and tends to have more than one account open at the same time, your auction house character, your sort of playing the game character, for example, will notice that you can only interface with the pet journal on one account at a time. They've already stated the Warband Bank is going to work the same. This might be the only slight frustration for people that use 2 accounts and buy all their materials on one, that there might be some frustration with actually accessing and depositing and withdrawing materials in that regard. Close your other account down and then you should have, it'll unlock for the other account again. I think we know why this happens. It's the same as the reason why the pet journal is done that way. It's to ultimately prevent duplication of items, is what we're led to believe, at least anyway. But I hope Blizzard can find some solution to make it so that that's not the case. Possibly that would be a really nice thing if they could, but we'll see. We'll see. A final note about the Warband Bank is you may notice in this little screen grab your bank and your reagent bank are here as well. This is just going to be another tab on the default bank UI. You go find a banker in one of your main cities and you'll just have that third option for the Warband Bank. You will expect to see at some point, they've already stated not for the launch of the War Within, but at some point they will actually change the way the regular bank works to stop using bags. Of course, we have our 4 bank slots on our person, on our character, but there's 7 bag slots in the bank. They're going to change that, and they're going to change it to this tab-based system, but not for the launch. That's going to come further in the expansion, but it's something to note that that is going to happen as well. I suppose before we move on from the Warband Bank, I should probably tell you just how much it's going to cost to buy these 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th tab. Are you ready for this, boys and girls? There's a chance I put this in the thumbnail because this is ridiculous. But you ready for this? Boom. They're not cheap. They're not cheap. This is probably why if there was a 6th, a 7th, or an 8th tab, not many people would be able to afford it. I suspect most of the player base will probably tap out at tab 3 or maybe 4. I can't imagine there'll be many others than like the mega goblins out there that are willing to drop 2.5 million gold on the 5th tab for this. Now, of course, that may potentially limit even further the storage space that you as a player have, depending on just how much gold you're willing to sink into unlocking these like the further tabs. 3.126 million gold is a crazy amount. Even that, you know, even that made me sort of take a step back, and I consider myself relatively wealthy in the game. That's a lot of gold. We have seen gold sinks of this nature for other things in the game. There's the spider for like 2 million gold. There's the longboy, of course, that was 5 million gold, but it's a cool ass mount with a personal auction house. Are you going to see the utility in spending 2.5 million gold for that extra 96 bank tabs? It's up to you. It's a choice. It's up to you, but it's expensive. Let Blizzard know what your thoughts on this are. I posted this on Twitter the other day, and people were like, "Oh my god, that's outrageous." If there's too much of a kickback from this, expect some of these prices to change. But this is the time to get feedback in. This is why the alpha exists. It gives people a chance to look at the stuff and go, yep, I like that, or no, that's actually mental. Please change it. So use the comment section down below. Use the official Blizzard forums, whatever stage you need to share your feedback on that one. Let's talk about Warbound Gear then. There is some new changes to gear in the War Within. Related to this Warbound feature. There's going to be a new tag that you'll see called Warbound Until Equipped, short form WUE, which we've already accidentally referred to as Uwu Gear. I wonder if that will stick throughout the expansion, but this is practically replacing sort of like the account bound sort of stuff. It will work in alongside account bound. You'll still have some items that are truly account bound. Things like your heirlooms, for example, are going to maintain as truly account bound, meaning you can equip them, unequip them, and then resend them and reuse them on other characters. Warbound Until Equipped will means that you can send this to any of your characters. Soon as it is equipped, it will become soulbound. And then, of course, after it has been used that one time, vendor it, disenchant it, whatever the case may be. It does mean it somewhat puts a restriction on you actually selling this gear. As it's bound to your account, you won't be able to trade these on the auction house. Expect to see this little tag used frequently on sort of like catch-up gear, drops of that nature. They have said that any time a piece of gear drops, whenever you earn loot, you will have a small chance to gain additional piece of Uwu gear as personal loot. So expect when you're doing your dungeons, when you're running the raid, when you're doing your world quests, when you're doing your delves, or any activity in the new expansion, when a piece of gear drops, there's the chance for a second piece to drop that will be warbound until equipped. They've claimed that it will drop one full upgrade track lower than the normal piece of gear that drops for you. Good way to get some sort of bits of gear to then send off to your alts to help them sort of catch up and gear up a little bit faster. Cool, like it, no complaints there. Hopefully, as long as they don't remove too much of the bind on equip stuff, because as goblins, we like to sell a lot of that bind on equip loot. Of course, Warbound is going to be locked to your account, whether you use it or delete it or whatever you do. The only restriction is you can't sell it. So Goblin Brain is a little bit kind of like, I hope there's not too much of this, but I hope it's cool enough that we can pad out our alts all the same. We should probably move on to Transmog now. This is going to be a big change for the Warbound stuff. One of the biggest changes is that, as stated here, any character can collect any appearance regardless of if they can equip the item or not. This, I believe, is more focused towards soulbound stuff. So let's take the scenario that you're running an old raid, you're running an old dungeon, you kill a boss, it drops 5 or 6 pieces of gear usually. And under today's rules, you are kind of, if you are running on a plate wearing class, you will only gain the appearances from the pieces of plate that drop. This is where it's going to change. All 5 of those pieces of gear, whether they be cloth, mail, leather or plate, regardless to which character you loot them on, any outstanding appearance that you need, you'll learn it, which is great. Now, of course, if you're running on a plate wearer, a plate can't use cloth appearances for the purpose of Transmog. This is more for the purpose of actually collecting the appearances in the first place. But it does mean get your speed druids out, get your speed druids fully geared out, and do all your Transmog collecting and farming on those speed druids. As it doesn't matter whether it be leather, cloth, plate or mail gear that drops, it will pad out your Transmog collection for not only that druid but for all of the other classes as well. The only exception to this is going to be the class specific stuff. If it's a specific priest appearance, you will need to collect it on a priest still to get that appearance. But the reality is you probably wouldn't care about that sort of stuff unless you were playing on that character anyway. So I guess that's kind of fair. Regarding BOEs, there is clearly going to be 2 different sets of rules here for soulbound drops from like raid bosses and BOEs. You are not going to need to equip the appearance to learn to equip the item to learn the appearance, which is quite cool. They've kind of already trialed this in Dragonflight, and it kind of went horribly wrong, and so they quickly uninstalled Control-Z. They went back a step, and they took it away from us just as quickly as they gave it to us. Hopefully they fully fixed this. This will mean that any BOEs to acquire the appearance, you have to basically destroy the item. That's the way that it's going to work now. So instead of having to equip every single item to get the appearance, you can just straight away disenchant it, vendor it, just delete it. The destroying of an item is what will trigger the appearance learning. So obviously if you just go and sell it, if you sell it on the auction house, you're not going to obtain the appearance. But if you disenchant it or vendor it, you'll automatically get the appearance. It kind of takes away that one step of having to put the piece of gear on first. This also means that it's more flexible. It means that you can do the same with plate, leather, mail, or well, any of the armor types. As soon as you disenchant them, as soon as you vendor them, you'll get all of the appearances regardless. So in that sort of phase, it's much more flexible for Transmog collecting. Now, let's talk Goblin Brain stuff. Let's talk about what this might do to the Transmog market. For starters, expect an awful lot more people going out and collecting their Transmog, padding out their appearances, at least in the short term when the expansion launches. Warbands is a headline feature of the new expansion, and by proxy of that, you're likely to find that a lot of people are just all of a sudden more interested in Transmog, and a lot of people will go out and start trying farming some of this stuff to pad their appearance collection. Meaning that there might be a little bit more competition all of a sudden on people selling the BOE Transmog items on the auction house. But there is a flip side to that. The flip side is because more people are thinking about Transmog, there's equally likely to be a lot more people all of a sudden looking to fill their collection with those BOEs and maybe purchasing them off the auction house. So it could be a good time for Transmog. We'll have to see how it plays out. But the reality is I think there's going to be a lot more focus on Transmog because of the Warbands, and that can only do good things for people who try and make a little bit of coin from it all the same. So that's mostly it for the Warband features, boys and girls. That's a rough overview of everything that's coming with Warbands. We hope in the next few days, minutes, weeks, we will get access to the alpha. Worst case scenario, we'll get the beta. And we can actually have a little bit more of a deeper look into this, exactly how it works in game, and see if there's any quirks, if there's any sort of oddities to it, and we can get a more detailed bit of feedback in. But this video's been a little bit longer than I expected it to, but I hope the level of detail is helpful to you. Once again, the link to the full article, if you want to have a read through it word by word, is linked down below. And thank you all for getting to minute 30 of the video. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, boys and girls. Consider subscribing if you're new around here, and come check us out on Twitch, twitch.tv/Manthieus, or set the live notifications for here on YouTube, as I am streaming on both platforms Monday through till Friday every week. And of course our focus is probably going to be on alpha and beta footage in the near future. So have yourselves a wonderful day. I'll catch you all next time. Peace.